A pleasant day to each and everyone. So today we are going to discuss the art history, which is the Philippine art history. Before we start to our formal discussion, here's the learning outcomes for today's class. First, develop students' ability in manipulating the elements of art. Second, analyze how line was interpreted and utilize traditional crafts. Third, characterize how Filipino utilize space to determine its implications for their identity, history, religion, and philosophy. Now, let's talk about what art forms will be the focus of Philippine art history discussion. First, textile art of the Tiboli. Second, ukil of the Sulu archipelago. Third, Maranao Torogan in Lanao. Later on, me and my co-reporter will explain more further about these three art forms, but now let's focus on textile art of Tiboli. The Tibolis occupy an area of about 750 square miles where the southern ends of the southwest coast range and the Cordillera, also known as the Tiruray Highlands, merge. The culture of Tiboli Center falls more or less in the central part of a triangle whose points are the towns of Surala, Polomolok, and Kiamba. Next, let's talk about the Tibolis traditional clothing. Their traditional cloth is the tinalak. Tinalak is made of krungon or the abaca fiber extracted from the mature fruit bearing wild abaca. This traditional cloth is associated with rituals on birth, life, union in marriage, and death. Tinalak is often used as blankets and clothing on rare occasions, as in royal wedding ceremonies. Weaving is a skill that a Tiboli woman learns from their mothers, grandmothers, or even their sisters. Tinalak takes 3 to 6 months to finish depending on the length and complexity of the design. The patterns of tinalak are bestowed on them through dreams, those from their ancestors, or ones that especially granted by Fudalu, the spirit of Abaca. The tinalak is recognizable from the other weaves in their sweeping design structure. The traditional colors of tinalak are maroon red, black brown, and the natural beige of Abaca. The dyeing is done twice. This is called overdying technique. Once completed on the looms, tinalak are sewn into blankets which play a key role in conventional exchange of symbolic goods at marriage. Since 1980s, the tinalak found its way into the commercial market and into non-traditional use. Tinalak weavers differentiate tinalak created for the market and those for traditional purposes. The designs of tinalak comes from the weaver's dream. If they do not weave the design right away, they get ill. For the traditional Tiboli, only women are allowed to weave. Men were afraid of weaving because they might get sick. This belief demarcates the role of men and women in the society of Tiboli.
Ukil of the Sulu Archipelago, Traditional Arts of Sulu. The traditional decorative arts of Sulu Archipelago uses design motifs and symbols widespread in Southeast Asia. These traditional motifs may be used for many wealth items for personal purposes, like garments, jewelry, and weaponry. So it is common in exchanging during wedding ceremonies. Certain abstract or highly stylized motifs are symbolic or have a specific names, but their original significance has become ambiguous over time. Most meanings are deeply rooted in Hindu Islamic traditions and ancient beliefs. Figural representation has not been abandoned. Islamic traditions of representation are usually limited to geometric designs or depictions of floral and florid. Florals and florid motifs share similarities with Indo-Persian and Indo-Chinese design due to Sulu's foreign trade. So the motifs combine to form a complex pattern, a highly abstracted form. What is ukil? Ukil are the most important to the Tausug, Samal, Bajau, and Jama Mapun of the Sulu archipelago. These ukils are highly stylized representation of flora and fauna from the environment. To these ethnic Muslims, the term okil or okir means both the art of sculpting and carving, a curvilinear design akin to arabesque. Okil motifs can be also carved, painted, patched, embroidered, etched, cut out, and cast. Okil motifs can be found in textile and garments, boxes and chests, tableware and kitchenware, carpets and prayer rugs, leather goods and ceramic wares, and the Holy Quran. There are three types of okil motifs: the sumping or floral motifs, the birdo, the tree plant motifs, and lastly is the hashash or the serpent motifs. So first, I will discuss to you about the sumping or floral motifs. Are conventionally embroidered or garments, wall covering, and canopies which usually include sampaka and the sumping kayuku. It believes that these motifs share similarities with neighboring cultures, are trade and trading interaction of the indigenous people of Sulu. In the sample of Malo, there are four variations of the floral motifs, waxed in white, combined to form the decorating design. The second one is the beardo or tree plant motifs are curvilinear foliate design associated with fertility or prosperity and symbolic of life and paradise in Sufism. The native artist employed a random variety of stylized dahon or leaf and bangon or vine to compose a beardo. Lastly is the hashash or the serpent motif. It is universally includes snakes, dragons, and aquatic animals like fish, eel, dolphin, lizard, and lastly is a crocodile. It is frequently portrayal of these exotic creatures in the arts and oral traditions of Muslim Filipinos shows a fascination with the serpent, especially its saringa or the dragon form. The serpent's motifs is symbolic of water, virility, fertility, and royal power. These are the typical embellishments on prow, sidings, crossbeams, eaves, and even the pulleys of old watercrafts. And that's all for my discussion.
Lanao Torogan in Lanao. So what is a Torogan model in 1996? So Torogan is a type of architecture in Maranao society. The Torogan is the center of community life in a Maranao principality. So for the Maranao, it is a communal property, a symbol and an identification figure that set parameters for their society. So, communal or komunidad, pag-aari ito ng lahat at hindi lamang ng isang pamilya o individual. So, although a torogan is usually highly decorated, it does not exist simply to be symbolic of the Maranao culture. So rather, the Maranao Torogan serve as a function in the social and communal lifestyle of the Maranao. So, the Torogan daw, alam nyo po yung mga bahay na super ganda at bongga ang mga design. So, the one example of this, which is the Torogan. Hindi lang siya basta-basta maganda. Yes, sobrang ma-decorated siya, pero hindi lang naman siya para lang magpaganda. Ito ay may function talaga siya sa mga buhay ng mga Maranao para siyang center ng kanilang community life, important part of social and communal lifestyle nila. So, hindi lang siya symbol ng culture nila, kundi active part siya sa araw-araw ng kanilang buhay. So, Maranao Torogan in Lanao. what is the significance of a Torogan Medallion 1996. So the Torogan sets the tone for social life of the community. In the absence of a Torogan and a Sultan, when we say Sultan, it is a leader of a community. So the community become leaderless without direction, especially in social activities. So ang sinasabi dito, ang Torogan ay hindi lang basta-basta maganda. Basta magandang bahay. Para sa mga Maranao, this one is super important sa social life ng kanilang community. Para siyang nagsiset ng tono or ng mood ng isang tao kung paano ang takbo ng kanilang buhay. So pag wala ang Torogan at ang Sultan o ang leader, para bang nawawala ng direction ang community nila, lalo na sa mga social activities. So ang Torogan ay parang ang soul ng kanilang lipunan. So Maranao, Torogan in Lanao. So what are the functions of a Torogan? So there are 6 functions of a Torogan, which is the number 1 is the home for Datu, number 2 is the meeting hall, number 3 is the community court, number 4 is the ceremonial and social hall, and lastly the spiritual house. So let's talk about home of the Datu Medallion 1996, the first function of a Torogan. So a Torogan is built for the Sultan or the Datu who holds the highest rank in a community. It is an ancestral communal house for him who will reside with his closest relative. So number 2 is the function meeting hall, Medallion 1996. The Torogan is a multi-purpose building. When we say multi-purpose building, it is ito yung pwede siyang gamitin kahit ano-anong event or meetings, ganon. So which serve as a meeting hall when the Sultan or the Datu calls for a conference, yes. So next one is the community court, Medallion 1996. The Torogan is where the Sultan hold court. Community problems are brought to the attention of the Sultan, who would summon the contending parties for possible settlement of the particular case. So the Sultan sees to it that the customary law, tradition, and the beliefs of community are safeguarded and implemented strictly. So ang Torogan, hindi lang siya bahay, kumbaga. Pwede siyang courtroom. So, doon nag-hold ng court ang sultan or ang leader at doon din dinadala ang mga may problema or may away, ganon. So, siya ang nag-aayos ng mga away at nag-i-implement ng mga batas at tradisyon sa Maranao. So, ang Torogan ay parang court at community center sa iisang lugar. Ito ay super important sa kanila sa pagpananatili ng kaayusan at pagsunod sa mga kaugalian nila. So, Torogan ceremonial and social hall na next one. So, Torogan are used for big ceremonies. Yes, big ceremonies like such as weddings, wakes, and religious gathering, as well as a major conflict resolution between individuals or groups. So, the Torogan serve as a social hall of community where life cycle celebration involving prominent members of the community are held, such as baptisms, weddings, wake, and dead anniversary. So the next one is the lastly is the spiritual house, Madale 1996. The Torogan is also the spiritual house of a Marano community where children learn to read and write the Holy Quran. So, spiritual house or the Torogan, pwede din siyang gamitin para sa pag-aaral ng mga bata sa kung paano magbasa ng Quran and magsulat ng Quran. So, very helpful talaga ang Torogan para sa kanila. So, that's all for my discussion. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. So, my name is Almira. I'm Solon. So, I will continue to discuss about Maranao, Torogan, and Lanao physical features of a Torogan Madale. So, the Torogan has high ceiling and stiff roof with panelong and beams with ornate designs that resemble both prose. Heavily decorated with the naga, firm like sacred snake, and with massive paws from the tree trunks. So the Torogan is built with a high ceiling and stiff roof symbolizing nobility and grandeur. The panelong, the extended beam that juts out from the front, is decorated with ochre motifs such as the naga, a sacred snake figure believed to offer protections and spiritual powers. The beams and structural support are also adorned with intricate carvings. The post stands on large termite prevention rounded boulders to avoid its destruction during earthquakes. So, the massive wooden posts of the Torogan are not directly anchored to the ground. So instead, they stand on rounded stones called haligi, so which help prevent termites from infesting the wood and reduce damage during earthquakes. So example of that, when we say in the Dayawan Torogan, each post is balanced on a large, smooth boulder. This not only gives it seismic flexibility, but also reflects the ingenuity of pre-colonial Maranao engineering. So the niaga motif found in the panolong is shaped like a serpent with its mouth opening to the east. So when we say that niaga is a specific ornamental design incorporated into the panolong. So it represents a serpent and is often depicted with its mouth open, facing it is symbolizing openness to blessings and harmony with nature. So example of that, the niaga carved into a panolong at the Lanao del Sur, Torogan appears as a stylized serpent with a gaping mouth pointed toward the sunrise. So, believed attract good fortune. So, certain ochre motifs also serve spirits such as arabesque motifs found on the wall divisions in the Torogan. Around it, on the other intestine of the house, rampatan, beyond their aesthetic appeal, ochre motifs, particularly arabesque patterns, so serve as a spiritual purpose. They are placed strategically in parts of the house and such as dividers on the rampatan intestine of the house to guard against evil spirits. So example of that, In a traditional torogan, arabesque ochre carvings are placed on the interior walls and the rampatan, reflecting on the Maranao beliefs in the safeguarding the home from unseen malevolent force. So, the ground floor of the torogan is usually kept open so that it can be used as a storage or display area. Outside the torogan is the lama, when we call lama wide yard, where activities which cannot be accommodated inside are held. Torogans are seldom spent. When we say that, the ground floor of the Torogan is intentionally left open. So this area serves as a space for storage or for showcasing items. The Lama as a spacious yard outside the Torogan accommodates community events or activities that are too large to be held inside. So example of that, during a wedding in Torogan in Lanao, the lama was used to host dancers and musicians while the open ground floor displays gifts and woven textiles for guests to admire. And that's all my part. Thank you once again. Thank you.